Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, August the 20th. 4 games today, same 4 games we had on Tuesday. We got game 2 of all these series, the games that we had on Tuesday. We got game 2 of all those series. Miami, Indiana, OKC, Houston, Orlando, Milwaukee, and Portland and the Lakers. So we'll break down this 4-game slate. We do have some, things to go by from what happened last game. Obviously, same matchup, same everything. So, we'll definitely talk about what players did the game before, whether we should be playing them, if they did well. Maybe if people are going to chase some guys that did well, maybe we should get off of them. If there's guys that did poorly that I still think we should be playing, I'll be sure to touch on that as well. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. The NBA videos recently have been absolutely crushing. We've been getting a ton of views, a ton of likes. I'm pretty sure our last 2 videos have both gotten over 300 likes. Again, guys, I can't thank you enough for all the support. Let's try and get over 400 likes on this video. That would really mean a lot to me. I am pumping out these videos every single day for you guys. Obviously, I really appreciate your support. Just hit that like button. That's really all that I ask. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe as well. It is free. Anytime you subscribe, you'll pretty much just see my videos whenever you log into YouTube. You can also turn on the notification bell, the little bell icon that's next to the subscribe button. If you click that, you will get a notification sent to your phone every time I upload a new video. So be sure to do those things. If you want to get more content from me as well, I do have stuff available on Patreon. It's optional. You don't have to, but if you really like these videos and you want to see more that I have to offer, the Patreon's linked down below in the description. You can check all that out, get access to my articles that I write Monday through Friday, my updated core plays. Our Discord chat is available for Patreon members. So yeah, that's in the description. If you want to check it out, feel free to do so. But let's go ahead and look at this slate. We will start off at point guard, where we got James Harden as our most expensive option once again. He's $11,700 on DK. Pretty sure he was this same price on the last slate. And on Yahoo, he's also the most expensive player. Or actually, he's not the most expensive player. Giannis is $1 more than Harden. I believe Harden was also $55 on the last slate. So looking at the top here, I think Harden, he's definitely my favorite guy again. I played him over Lillard, LeBron, all those studs. Like Harden was my stud to play on Tuesday. It didn't work out. Harden had a disappointing game. But I feel like I'm going to be going right back to him again. I mean, without Russell Westbrook, he gets so much usage, so much opportunity. Has a usage rate over 40%, averages about 1.8 fantasy points per minute. If this game is close, he's going to play about 40 minutes. Only reason he played just 34 minutes was because, that last game was a blowout. They won by 15. Pretty sure he got pulled with like 4 minutes left. So, he was on pace to play around 38 to 40 minutes. That's what we should get from Harden today. He didn't have the worst game, 58 Draftkings points in 34 minutes. But still, we know Harden has like legit 80, 90 point upside. Like he's gone for 90 Draftkings points before whenever Westbrook's been out. And even, a couple years ago when Chris Paul played for the Rockets, we'd have games where Chris Paul was out and Harden, I'm pretty sure Harden dropped 100 Draftkings points one time. The dude just has so much upside. The ball's going to be in his hands the whole game. Going to take a ton of shots, going to take probably 25, 30 shots. Hard not to like him, even though, he's expensive. I like paying up for him, especially if people are going to maybe go after someone like LeBron. Not saying LeBron's a bad play today. LeBron is coming off a big game, a big triple-double. He did get priced up, though. He's to $10,900, whereas Harden remained the same price at $11,700. Harden's still the guy I want to pay up for. He's still the guy that I think has the highest ceiling out of all these guys, and I think he has the highest floor as well. Like we got a floor game out of Harden on the last slate, and he still almost scored 60 Draftkings points. So yeah, I'm gonna be paying up for Harden today. He's my favorite stud on the slate. You could go to Dame, you could go to LeBron. Dame had I believe he had a solid first quarter, then really cooled off in the second half, or in the second quarter and in the third quarter, but then really turned it on late in the game. Finished with 51 Draftkings points. It wasn't the best game from Dame, but he still played huge minutes, 43 minutes. If this game is close, which I feel like every game in this series is going to be, we're probably going to get 40 to 42 minutes from Dame. I think I do give the slight edge to him over LeBron. LeBron is coming off a big triple-double where he scored 73 DK points. He did play 41 minutes. I think we're going to see LeBron play about 40 minutes every night. It's close between those two guys. They're both probably going to play around the same minutes. Maybe Lillard gets a few more. Lillard, in terms of his fantasy production, is slightly higher than LeBron, I do believe, on the season, especially during the bubble. Lillard's just been at another level right now. It's close between those two guys. I think you can really flip a coin between LeBron and Lillard. I think I do give the slight edge to Lillard, especially if LeBron's going to get more ownership because he's coming off a big game. But still, Harden's the guy that I want here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay up for, two of these three studs. Just don't know if there's going to be enough value to do that. So I guess I'd rank him Harden 1 for sure, Lillard 2, and then LeBron close behind Lillard as a number 3. But Harden's going to be, way above those two guys for me. And then some of these mid-range guards, you got like CP3, CJ McCollum, Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon is someone I like a lot. He's 6,900 on DraftKings. I think he's still a little bit too cheap. He was 6,800 last slate. Had a solid game, 40.75 DK points in 39 minutes. Brogdon's a guy that's going to play about 38 to 40 minutes, and now that they're in the playoffs, if the game's close, they're going to play Brogdon as much as he can stay on the floor. We saw him kind of get limited during the regular season. Like, he would play about 32, 34 minutes, even, 34 was like his high. Well, now that it's the playoffs, they're going to go back to playing Brogdon, about 40 minutes a game. I believe that's what they were giving him, like, really early on in the season. Brogdon was absolutely crushing, like, early on in the season. I don't know if you guys remember, but at one point, I think he was up to, like, $9K in price at a price point. Like, he was putting up about 45, 50 every night. His usage has gone down a little bit. Like, he hasn't been the same productive player that he was at the very beginning of the season. But this is still a guy that has 45, 50-point upside. We still know that Domantas Sabonis is out, so that helps Brogdon. Victor Oladipo is also a game-time decision, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Oladipo got hurt, got poked in the eye last game, was not able to return. If he were to sit, that would just make Brogdon an even better play. Even if Oladipo plays, I still like Brogdon a lot at 6,900. Going to play about 40 minutes. He's going to give you probably a fantasy point per minute, if not more. I like him a lot at 6,900 on DK. I like him on Yahoo as well, coming in at $28. I think he looks like a really good option in that mid-range. Should easily be able to pay off this price tag, in my opinion. But then you have a guy like SGA, who I still like today. He was absolutely terrible last game. Only finished with like 20 DK points. He has 17.5 DK points. Literally worst game possible for SGA. That's going to lower his ownership today. Like, people are going to be scared to go to him because he disappointed last game. But that's the time when I usually like jumping on guys, especially with the price coming down too. 6,300 for SGA. Like, this is still a guy that has big time upside. Should easily be able to pay off this price. I feel a little bit better about Brogdon. So if you can get up to Brogdon, I think I'd rather go there. But there's still plenty of upside for SGA. I wouldn't be scared off of him just because of the bad game. Goran Dragic was massive chalk last slate. He crushed. He was like 4,400. Went out there and smashed, put up 42 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. He started that game. Kendrick Nunn did not play at all. I thought Kendrick Nunn was at least going to get some minutes off the bench, but he was a DMP CD. I guess that's what they're going to keep doing. They're just going to keep playing Dragic and Hero. Like, they're only two guards. They'll play Iggy at point guard some. They'll let Hero run point guard whenever, Dragic is off the floor. Obviously, Jimmy can handle the ball as well. So I expect we probably get about 32 to 34 minutes from Dragic again. Normally he's not a guy that plays that many minutes. He usually, especially during the regular season, they would keep him around like 28 to 30. 30 would be like the max. But it seems they're going to give him, pretty big minutes here during the playoffs. For 5,900, his price came up a lot, but there's still big-time upside for Dragic. This is a guy that is incredibly productive when he gets minutes, can average over a fantasy point per minute. I still like him at 5,900 on DK. I still think he is a very appealing play at that price tag. Out of all the 5K guards between Bledsoe, Schroeder, and Dragic, even SGA I'd include in there. Like, I think Dragic is my favorite between those four guys. Schroeder's coming off a terrible game. His price came down, though, so I still think there's some appeal with him. Eric Bledsoe also really struggled last game. For 5,300, there's still upside for Bledsoe to pay off this price. I just don't know if I really want to go there. Like, I think Dragic gives you more upside if you can find the salary to get up to Dragic. Also, we have, like, Markelle Fultz is still really cheap again, and I like him a lot. So we'll go ahead and talk about Fultz. He was another guy that was really popular last slate. He had a solid game. He didn't smash or anything. Put up 27 DraftKings points. He was 4,200. Played 29 minutes. He did start. It looks like he's going to start for the remainder of the playoffs. They still brought DJ Augustin off the bench, and he played pretty good minutes. But it seems like Fultz is going to play about 30 to 32 minutes every night. The Bucks or the Magic actually won the game one of this series, which I thought was a big surprise. If they compete like they did in the first game, like, they can keep this close. We can get full minutes from these Magic guys again, like we did last game, which is going to make them there's going to be some appealing plays from the Magic. And Fultz, his price tag, I don't think it moved up enough. I think he should be about 5K today. At 4,500, I still have a lot of interest in him on DraftKings. This is another guy that when he gets minutes, he can be productive, can give you a fantasy point per minute. He's a guy that can contribute in all categories. He's not scoring dependent. Like, he can chip in with rebounds, assists. I like Fultz again at 4,500. I think he's still a little bit too cheap on DK. Maybe people go to DJ Augustine because Augustine had the better game, but Augustine only played 23 minutes. I don't know if you're going to get as productive of a game, like in terms of his the amount of points he averaged like per minute. I don't know if you're going to get that kind of production from Augustine. I'd much rather play Fultz, who's going to get the most minutes at point guard, and he's only 4,500. There's still plenty of upside for him at that price, so I do like him a lot on DK. On Yahoo, I think he's very appealing over here as well. You got him coming in at $17. He's $6 cheaper than Dragic. He's $3 less than Bledsoe, $1 less than Schroeder. I think it's close between those four guys. Dragic and Fultz are definitely my two favorites. Usually you can find some good value on Yahoo, so I think I am going to plug in Dragic for now. If maybe you need to drop down to Fultz, like if you need the $6 to drop down to Fultz, I have no problems with that. But there's always underpriced guys you can find on Yahoo. So I definitely like Dragic there at 23. Like Fultz as well, though, at 17. Both those guys I was pretty heavy on last slate. I'm probably going to be pretty heavy on them again. Even with the price coming up for Dragic, I still like him a lot. And then Aaron Holiday is one guy I want to mention for value. So he started last game. They put him in the starting lineup. They went with, I believe their starting line was Brogdon, Holiday. They played Victor Oladipo at small forward, and then Warren and Turner. I assume that's what they do again. Even if Oladipo plays, I assume Holiday still starts. He only played 16 minutes, but a lot of that was due to foul trouble. He was pretty much in foul trouble the whole game. Had 4 fouls in those 16 minutes. If he's not in foul trouble, I think we probably get about 30 minutes from Aaron Holiday, especially if Oladipo sits. Like, that's going to make Holiday a very appealing option. He should get more usage with Oladipo off the floor, should get more shot opportunities. I am definitely going to keep my eye on him as a value, especially if Oladipo sits. I think Aaron Holiday will actually become a very good value play. And even if Oladipo plays, I think Holiday's still very appealing, especially because he started last game. Don't worry about the 16 minutes. That was due to foul trouble. I know he picked up 2 very quick fouls, had to come out. I'm pretty sure right when he came back in, he picked up his 3rd foul pretty quickly as well. So, yeah, don't worry about the 16 minutes. He should probably play 30, 32 minutes, assuming he starts again. And if Oladipo sits, maybe he plays even a few more minutes. So I like Aaron Holiday as a value here. But that's probably it for, point guard value plays. So let's go ahead and talk about the shooting guard position. So at shooting guard, you do have Jimmy Butler at the top. Jimmy Butler was a guy that I liked a lot last slate. He had a very solid game for his price. I believe finished with 48 DK points. 48.75. Played 37 minutes. Was really active on the defensive end. Got 6 stocks, had 2 blocks, 4 steals. Obviously, you don't expect that every game, but Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that can just go out there and get 5 or 6 steals and blocks every game just because he's a really good defender. He's a guy that's always going to look for steals, can block shots. It's 7,900. I don't think he's going to be a must play for me by any means. I don't know if he's going to be a core play for me like he was last slate. The price didn't come up much, just $300. But still, we have some other guys. Like, you got Brogdon for $1,000 less, who I like a good amount. You got Dragic for $2,000 less at point guard you could play. There's not much I like at the top of shooting. I would definitely play Butler over CJ. You do have, SGA you could go to at 6,300. But, I guess if you can, you could definitely pay up for Butler here. You do have Harden, who is shooting guard eligible, who obviously I love on this slate. But if I'm not paying up for, Harden or Butler, I think there is some value here that I like. So Evan Fournier was someone that I liked last slate, and I don't know what the hell he did, but he did absolutely nothing. Finished with 20 DraftKings points, played 36 minutes, shot 3 for 8 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. I'm pretty sure at the end of the first half, at halftime, he had 8 fantasy points, so he at least did a little something in the second half. Don't expect another, bad performance like that from Fournier. Normally, this is a guy that gives you about 25 to 30 DraftKings points. He's still pretty cheap. He's still 5,100. So I don't mind him. I just don't think I'm going to be as heavy on him today as I was last slate because Eric Gordon is cheaper, and Eric Gordon is a guy that I like quite a bit today. So Gordon was 5,500 on the last slate, and they dropped his price to 4,900. He was really productive, with Harden or with Westbrook off the floor. When you take Westbrook off, Gordon does have very solid numbers. Played 30 minutes, had 30 DraftKings points. I think today we probably get a few more minutes from him. I'm pretty sure he got pulled early in that game as well because of the blowout. So he was on pace to play about 32 minutes. I think that's what we get from Gordon today. Without Westbrook, he can average close to a fantasy point per minute. He's going to be the primary ball handler whenever, Harden's off the floor. They will stagger those two guys' minutes so that one of them's on the floor at all times. And I also believe that that Gordon got into some very early foul trouble. He only finished the game with 3 fouls, but I'm pretty sure he picked up 2 fouls like within the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game and had to be subbed out. So, maybe he even lost a few minutes because of that. Could have played like 34, 35 minutes. Since the price came down, I think Eric Gordon is really appealing on DraftKings. I didn't have a ton of him on the last slate on DK because he was, 5,500. But today he's only 4,900. So I like him a lot at that price. He's still really cheap on Yahoo. He was really, one of my favorite values on Yahoo. I think he's going to be one of my favorite values again. He's only $13. He's cheaper than Duncan Robinson. He's cheaper than Daniel House. Definitely like Eric Gordon on Yahoo as well, just $13. But some other guys, Terrence Ross, I don't mind him. Going to come off the bench, probably play about 30 minutes. He only played 28 last game, but it looks like he did have 5 fouls in that game, so he might have gotten into some foul trouble. Ross, very similar to Fournier, a guy that's usually going to give you about 25 to 30 DraftKings points. Sometimes you'll spark those ceiling games from him where he goes out there and makes like 6 or 7 threes and puts up like 35, close to 40. This is a good matchup for that. Milwaukee, a very fast-paced team, a team that does allow, a lot of opposing three-point shots. That's one of the reasons I really like Fournier on the last slate. I don't mind Ross here at 4,800. I don't think I can play him over Eric Gordon, though. I think I'd rather go to Gordon for 100 more. But Ross is definitely viable, so is Fournier. You do have Aaron Holiday you could play here for 4K. I'm really going to like him if Victor Oladipo remains, or if Victor Oladipo is out. That's going to be even better for Aaron Holiday. Duncan Robinson, someone that I do like quite a bit as a value. So he's only 3,900 on DraftKings. His price actually came down. He was 4,300 on the last slate, and I thought that was really cheap for Duncan Robinson. He only played 24 minutes. They closed that game with Iggy and Hero over Duncan Robinson. I'm pretty sure Crowder was also on the bench late in the game. You never know what their closing lineups are going to look like. Sometimes they could close with the starters. Sometimes they could close with like Iggy over Robinson. They could close with Iggy over Crowder. They could close with Hero over Dragic. Like, you just never know what Spoelstra's going to do. I think most games, you're going to get probably low to mid 30s in minutes from Duncan Robinson, especially if he goes out there and from the start he's making threes, he's scoring points. They'll leave him in the game if he's really hot. He's a great 3-point shooter. They're always looking to get him shots. With like setting screens for him and stuff. At 3,900, I think he's actually a pretty good value today. Should play big minutes. I think, during the regular season, he was playing like mid 30s in minutes. I think most games that's probably what we're going to get from Duncan Robinson on a like point per minute basis. He's not the best. He averages I believe 0.8 fantasy points per minute on the season. But he's one of those guys that can get hot, that can start making threes, that can give you big games. I think he can rebound pretty well too. I think his rebounding percentage is somewhat high. Well, I guess not really. He's only had 3 or 4 or a couple games with 3 or 4 rebounds. But yeah, he's mainly scoring dependent. You're going to need him to knock down threes, but at 3,900, even if he goes out there and gives you 20 DK points, that's really not killing you at 3,900. There's obviously upside for him though to go out there and just knock down 6 or 7 threes and be a really good play. So for 3,900, I think Duncan Robinson looks like a really good value on DraftKings. On Yahoo, I probably won't be playing him much. He's $16. He's more expensive than someone like Eric Gordon, so I would much rather play Eric Gordon over there. But under 4K shooting guard, there really isn't much here. Ben McLemore, kind of similar to Duncan Robinson, just one of those guys that can get hot from the field, can make some threes. He's only 3,700. He's not going to play as many minutes as he was before, especially now that Eric Gordon's back and Eric Gordon is starting over him. But there's still upside for McLemore if he comes off the bench and starts knocking down some threes. But yeah, I think we covered everything for shooting guard, so let's go ahead and move on to small forward. So at small forward, looking at guys I haven't talked about, you do have TJ Warren for 8,100. I don't reckon I'm going to play TJ Warren at this price. I just haven't played him recently. I think he is a little bit too expensive. I'd rather play someone like Jimmy Butler for cheaper. On the season, Butler's a more productive player than Warren. I know Warren's been getting a lot of usage in the bubble. He's been one of the best players in the bubble so far. But at 8,100, I'd rather play Jimmy Butler for a little bit cheaper. So if I'm going to pay up at small forward, you could obviously go to LeBron, but I think Butler's the guy that I like the most, at 7,900. Other guys we could look to, Gallo's coming off a big game. I think he had 40 DraftKings points. Yeah, very close to it, 39.75. His price came up, though, to 6,600. Usually Gallo's a guy that I never play. He just doesn't have the upside. Rarely does Gallo go out there and break the slate. But this seems to be a matchup that he has a lot of success in. Through 4 games against Houston, he's averaged 40 DraftKings points per game against them. I just don't really feel like Gallo's a guy that I have to have. I just rarely play him. He's just one of those guys that's going to give you like 30, 35 and just be an okay play. Like rarely does Gallo just go out there and break the slate and drop 50. Even if he gets like 40, I mean, he's not going to be a guy you have to win, even if he gets 40. So I doubt I really go there. I mean, I don't really like the 6K range much. I really like Eric Gordon as a value here. You could pay up for Jimmy Butler. I mean, Roko's price came down a little bit to 6K. You know, he's going to be locked into big minutes, or he should be most nights. Only played 31 minutes last game, but I think he was also dealing with some foul trouble. Had 5 fouls. I mean, most games you're going to get probably 36, 38 minutes from Covington. You know, he's a guy that can knock down threes. He can rebound. You know, his rebounding numbers are way up, especially because, you know, Houston plays small, so they don't really have a true center out there to grab rebounds. I don't mind Covington at 6K, but again, you know, I really like Gordon for cheaper. 4,900, I think he's the guy I like most here. James Ennis, I think, is also okay value, especially if Aaron Gordon remains out. We don't know Gordon's status yet. He's still questionable. James Ennis has been starting, though, recently. Been playing pretty solid minutes. You know, got 31 minutes last game. Was very productive. 31 Draftkings points. I wouldn't expect that kind of production from Ennis, but, you know, this is a guy that can give you about 25 or 20, 25 DK points when he's starting and playing 30 to 32 minutes. He's not a guy that I usually like to play, but we're kind of lacking value today. You know, we don't have the cheap values in like Dragic and Fultz. I mean, Fultz is still cheap, but Dragic got priced up. We don't have those really good values today. So if you want to play James Ennis at 4K, I have no problems with that. You know, I think he's really cheap on Yahoo. He's $11 over here, so you could definitely go to James Ennis over there. But yeah, I think that's probably it for small forward. I guess if Victor Oladipo were to be out, then Edmund Sumner would most likely start. He did start the second half in place of Oladipo. He played pretty solid minutes, 27 minutes. Wasn't too productive. If he were to start though and play, you know, I'm guessing if he does start, you know, he'd probably play about 30 to 32 minutes for 3,700. He could be a guy you look to for value. But yeah, I think we covered small forward. Let's go ahead and move on to the power forward position now. So at the top here, you got guys like Giannis, AD, Nurkic. Giannis, you know, 11-3 here against Orlando. I do like Giannis today. I liked him a good amount last slate. I still have Harden ahead of him, and I'm still going to have Harden ahead of him today. But Giannis played 34 minutes last game. You know, that was a good thing to see. If the game stays close, Giannis is probably going to play about 34 to 35 minutes. We know he's an incredibly productive player. I mean, he was 3 assists, shy of a triple-double last game, had 31, 17, and 7, 65 Draftkings points. I mean, I have no problems with Giannis today. I just don't know if I can play him over Harden. I think Harden gives you a higher ceiling and a higher floor. We know Harden, you know, even if a game gets ugly, Harden will still be out there in the fourth quarter, whereas they're very quick to pull Giannis if it's a blowout. You know, he might only play 28, 30 minutes. So I still like Giannis. I just don't know if I can play him over Harden. AD for 10-5. You know, he had a very solid game, 52 Draftkings points. His price came up a little bit, though. Came up $100. I don't think I can go to AD over Giannis or even like Lillard. I think I'd rather play over him. AD's probably going to be like my 4th or 5th favorite stud today. Just don't see myself playing too much AD on this slate. It feels like a slate where, you know, it's going to be really tough to get 2 of these, you know, 10K and above guys. Just the value you plug in there, it's just not going to feel good. So you might have to really just play one. And for me, you know, if I'm playing one lineup today and I can only fit in one of these studs, it's going to be Harden. But then you have Nurkic for 9K. You know, Nurkic is coming off a pretty bad game. He got off to a great start, but then really cooled down. You know, only finished with 39 Draftkings points. Price came down a tad bit. Came down $100. He's 9K today. I mean, Nurkic is never a guy. I feel like you have to, or I wouldn't say have to have, but I feel like I would say is a bad play. Like Nurkic is always in play for me. I just don't know on this slate if he's a guy I'm going to be jamming in. Like, he wasn't, you know, a core play for me last slate. Won't be a core play for me today. But if I get some Nurkic in my lineups, like if I'm playing 10 lineups and I have Nurkic in 1 or 2, you know, that's probably what I'll do today. You know, I don't think he's going to be like a guy having like 40 or 50% of my lineups. Just don't know if this is a slate where you kind of need to pay for your Nurkic when we have some of these other studs that have such high ceilings, like Giannis, like Harden, you know, like Dame, even the Lakers guys. But other power forwards, you know, you got Aaron Gordon here, who I guess could be interesting if he's able to play today. I don't know what kind of limitations we would have on him. But, I mean, this was a guy we were paying about $7,500, $7,800 for during the regular season. He's coming in at just $6,700 today. So if he plays and is not limited, I mean, he could be very appealing. We'll just have to wait and see there. Don't love much in this mid-range. Carmelo's fine. You know, he's coming off a solid game. Going to play big minutes. $5,900, though, you know, Melo's not a guy I feel like I have to have, especially when he's $5,900. Rarely is he going to break the slate at that price tag. If you're going for value, you got James Ennis at 4K. Jay Crowder's a guy I like a lot as well. I played him pretty heavily last slate. He was very cheap, just $3,900. He disappointed, only put up 14 DraftKings points. But this is kind of similar to like the Royce O'Neal play. Crowder's not a great point per minute player, but he's going to be locked into pretty solid minutes. He is going to start. He didn't close out that game, but there's a chance he closes out the game today. You just never know what Spoelstra is going to do with the closing lineup. If he closes out the game, he probably plays about 30 minutes. That's what I assume he plays most nights. So for 4K, him and Duncan Robinson feel like very similar plays. I think because Duncan Robinson's, a three-point shooter, a guy that can get hot from the field, I think he gives you a little bit more upside than Crowder. But, Crowder's been rebounding really well, can give you a double-double. He's done it before with the Heat. So he's another guy you could play as a value. If Aaron Gordon remains out, then you could definitely look to a guy like Gary Clark. Started last game, 28 minutes, 26 fantasy points. Still really cheap today. If Gordon doesn't play, you're probably going to get about 28 to 30 minutes from Gary Clark, 3,300. He's not too bad of a value play. Like Wayne Gabriel's been starting for Zach Collins, but I doubt I go there. He got into some foul trouble, only played 16 minutes. As a per minute player, he was pretty good in that game. Put up 14 DraftKings points in 16 minutes. I just don't expect him to play much. Even if he comes out and plays really well, they're not going to give him big minutes. Gary Trent's going to soak up all the minutes off the bench. And Portland runs such a tight rotation anyway, so doubt I really go to Gabriel. They were also playing Whiteside and Nurkic a lot alongside each other last game, and there's a chance we see them do that again. So, yeah, even with Gabriel starting, I'm probably not going to play him. So let's go ahead and talk about center real quick. We'll run through this position just before we end the video. So you do have Vooch for 8,800, who was really good last game. Was a guy that was pretty low owned. Not many people played him. I was not on him personally. He put up 62 DraftKings points in 36 minutes. Had a great game overall. 35 and 14 with 4 assists, 1 steal. I don't think I'm going to go to Vooch today either. I wasn't on him last slate. His price tag didn't move. He's still 8,800, but I think that was top tier ceiling game from Vooch. I don't know if he's going to score more than 60 DraftKings points the rest of the season. He's got that kind of upside in him. I just don't know if I want to pay 8,800 for him on this slate. I'll let other people chase that. I'd rather pay up for you got I guess if you could go to AD, you got AD. You got Bam for 7,500, who I like again. Miles Turner, someone I like as well. 6,800 on DK. I probably won't be playing him, but we'll talk about him on Yahoo in a second. So yeah, I'll probably be off Vooch again. Don't see myself really going to him. Bam, I do like 7,500. I still think he's a little bit too cheap. Put up 46 DK points last game in 35 minutes. He was 7,400. Price only went up to 7,500. Bam's a guy that can easily pay off this price tag. Gonna play big minutes if it's a close game, which it should be. So I do like him quite a bit. Miles Turner I like as well. I just can't play him on DraftKings. He's way too expensive. But if we do look over on Yahoo, Miles Turner's still just $20. He's the same price as Brook Lopez. I think Miles Turner, again, looks really good on Yahoo. He kind of had a floor game last game. Played 32.5 minutes. Only 29.8 fantasy points, though. 9 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. That was kind of a bad game from Turner, and he still gave you 30 fantasy points. At $20 on Yahoo, I'm looking for about 35 fantasy points from Turner. That's what I would feel good if he gets. He can easily get that. I think he's too cheap on Yahoo again. You compare his price to other guys. He's cheaper than Steven Adams. He's $13 less than Adebayo. Definitely give me Miles Turner on Yahoo, just $20. On DraftKings, though, I'd rather get up to Bam Adebayo if you can. Don't really see myself playing Turner on DraftKings. Steven Adams, though, was another guy, I wasn't too heavy on. I barely played him last slate. He had a solid game, put up 36 DraftKings points in 28 minutes. I think most nights we're going to get about 30 minutes from Steven Adams. He's not normally a guy that plays huge minutes. Rarely are you going to get 38 minutes from Adams. This isn't a spot where they really need him out there either, especially against a small ball Houston team. But I do expect him to be productive when he's on the floor. If he plays 30 minutes, he can easily give you 36 DraftKings points again, which is solid for 5,600. So I don't mind him. You got Brook Lopez as well at 5K. I think Lopez was really chalky last slate. And he did well. I think he finished, he didn't do well if I recall. I think he actually was a big disappointment. Yeah, he sucked last slate. 15 DraftKings points, 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure he was pretty popular. I didn't play too much Brook Lopez last slate. I don't see myself going to him again. Maybe he'll come in at lower ownership because he disappointed last game. He still played 30 minutes, which is good to see. Just wasn't productive at all. I think if I can get the salary, I'd probably rather play Steven Adams for a little bit more over Brook Lopez. Even Whiteside I like. I mean, Whiteside played a lot last game. He played a lot alongside Nurkic. 26 minutes for Whiteside, 26 Draftkings points, and he was still in like foul trouble during that game. Like he lost some minutes because of foul trouble and still got 26 minutes. Obviously one of the big reasons he had such a good game was because he got 5 blocks. You can't project Whiteside to get 5 blocks every game, but he's got that kind of upside in him. I mean, he's an incredible shot blocker, can get 3-4 blocks. I mean, we saw a game, I think it was earlier this season, during the regular season, he almost had like 10 blocks, if I recall. I know he had close to it. I don't think it's going to show on the game log, but I know he had a game where he got close to 10 blocks. I mean, that's the kind of upside Whiteside has. It seems with Zach Collins out, they're going to play Whiteside and Nurkic alongside each other. They did it a lot in this game. I think they're going to do it again. For 4,900, Whiteside's a high upside value. Obviously there's risk here. You don't know what the minutes are going to look like. If he goes back to playing 15 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you get 25 minutes again from Whiteside, for 4,900, I mean, he can go out there and put up 35 Draftkings points in 25 minutes. He's such a productive player overall. So I do like him. Jeff Green as well, another guy that looks solid. Came off the bench, but still played 32 minutes, had 38 fantasy points. I think he's going to be pretty popular today, because he played so well last game. I still don't mind him, though. The minutes should be there. He's going to play about 30 to 32 minutes, even off the bench. Is a somewhat productive player when he gets minutes. With no Russell Westbrook, that is a little bit of a boost for Jeff Green. He's going to be their center pretty much, their small ball center. So he should have opportunities to rebound. He did get 6 rebounds last game. He shot really well from the field. I don't know if that's going to continue every game, but the opportunities should be there. He should get the minutes. He's only 4,800. His price actually came down off of what it was last slate. So if you're looking for centers under 5K, I think Whiteside and Green are the 2 guys I like there. Like you got Gary Clark you could play here if Aaron Gordon remains out, but I think that's probably it for center. Yeah, for this for value on the slate. So I think we broke it all down, guys. These are my early 5 plays for Draftkings and for Yahoo. Like I said earlier, or at the beginning of the video, I will have updated content posted on Patreon. I'll have my article posted, a couple hours before lock. I'll also have core plays posted a couple hours before lock. I do update the core plays. These usually aren't always my final core plays. These are my first looks at the slate, what I'm liking. Looking at the slate the night before. When I'm able to dig down deep and get deeper into the slate on Thursday morning, I'll have stuff posted on Patreon. If you do want to get access to that, it's linked down in the description. You can check all that out, see all that I have to offer. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I definitely appreciate you watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.